right now, let's hear from offensive coordinator Russ Callaway discussing the Florida Gators offense from a collaborative effort from the staff and the personnel groupings. And we'll hear from Billy Napier on the same thing as well.
How does the collaborative effort work? Like, how many guys are in the room? I mean, is it bouncing ideas off each other, different, situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really kind of how we do it, it's everything we do is collaborative, all right? And we have different ways to do it when we meet all together, and we kind of assign different type roles, things to, look at, study, and then we come back. And then some things are separate, and then we come together and say, hey, this is kind of, what we see, and again, bouncing ideas. And the main thing is it's not creating the idea, because we have, enough plays, just very similar to everybody. It's about getting the right people the ball, making sure that we got the protection sound, we got the route concept sound, the way that we're calling it, so it's consistent with the people signaling. But to answer your question, it's kind of a mix of both. Sometimes we'll start together and then split up, and then sometimes we're separate, but hey, on Tuesday morning we're going to meet on these 4 or 5 things. And I think we got it mapped out pretty good, along with Coach Napier, myself, and the whole offensive staff. And it's way more than just me, him, and whoever else. It's everybody. So that's how we do it.
Are you orchestrating that more so now in the new role?
I would just say it's really kind of similar to how we did it the last couple of years. Some things have just been a little bit structured differently. I've taken on more of some things, which is normal, I guess. But no, it's just like he was asking. We've kind of taken another step in that development. We don't just stay stagnant how we've done it the last 2 years. We do try to improve it. We study NFL teams, other college teams. Hey, how do y'all do it? How do you see this? And stuff's naturally going to change anyway. But I'd say for the last 2 years, just been pretty consistent with a couple enhancements of kind of how we done it.
So you talk about state secrets, but when we talked to you back in spring, right before spring camp, we asked you about seeing 4 wide receivers out there in the field. Now that you've spent last couple months around them, how much more confident are you that just the wealth of options you have, you're going to have to try and find a way to get them all in the field? Yeah,
I just think, look, it's at the end of the day, it's about getting the best 11 on the field, period. And of the week-to-week basis, we may think 11's better. We may think 12's better. We may think 13's better, 10's, whatever. We may not even have a personnel grouping that we think may be better, but it's all about, that's the genesis. That's where it starts. And, to say that we're going to do that this year for sure, don't know. We might not. But I do think there's some things that we can do, not just with the receiver room, but the running back room and the tight end room, to kind of get, a lot more people involved. And that's kind of been the goal starting last spring throughout summer. And we're going to continue on that way.
Billy, Russ said that how the offense has evolved is that now you have more players that you can get the ball to. Mm-hmm. Would you talk about how you see how the offense has evolved since you've come here?
Yeah, I think we probably have more players that we would plan around. I think one of the things we've been able to do is take the 3 or 4 skill guys that we've had and really be creative and get them the ball. I think we have more of those on that list now, which is a good thing. You build your system around what the quarterback can do and what he does well, and then you build it around the skill players that you have. And I think that's the fun part of coaching, is building that identity. And look, it's got to be flexible enough to win every week, depending on the opponent, the strengths and weaknesses of that week. But I like the pieces that we have. We certainly, there's more of them, and that's a good thing.
Well, I know it's a conversation we've had plenty this offseason. How much involved will Russ Callaway be? Will it in game planning, in actual play calling on game day? We talked about an Independent Gator Media Day on Sunday, and there's some thought out there that Russ Callaway might be more involved on game day, and there's still some that, hey, we got to see it to believe it, because we kind of heard the same thing last year and all that. And then Nick De La Torre brings up a good point. He's like, hey, why are you going to hand over keys to a Lamborghini? You got the Lamborghini now if you're Billy Napier, and DJ Lagway's your quarterback, and now you're going to hand over play calling? Does that really make a lot of sense? So there's a lot of ways to look at it. I don't even know if we'll really get a true answer. I think Billy Napier's pretty protective and secretive over that. I think the blame goes to him if he does. Even if he has another play caller, will we really know? I think he has no issue with the blame going to him if it doesn't work or anything of the like. But it's just been a question since Russ Callaway's been promoted and now has that sole offensive coordinator title. And then we also with this wide receiver room, and we all like the talent there. Does Florida have the ability to open it up? We think they do. They've recruited that position really well. They've recruited a lot of speed at that position. And they said, look, we're going to do it with what our quarterback can do. Well, if your quarterback's got that big time downfield arm and you got a lot of speed at receiver, you think it would lend itself to some more receivers getting on the field and some downfield shots. And it goes back to a conversation I had last week too, Will, and kind of stemming off of what Billy Napier ended with there. I just want an offense that can do what they need to do when they need to be able to do it. If you need to run the ball 50 times to win the game, then be able to do so. If you need Lagway to throw the ball 45 times a game and go 4 or 5 wide and need to do that to win a game, then be able to do so. Be flexible. We'd all love to see 4 or 5 wide and 50 points a game. I don't know how realistic that is. I just want an offense that's going to go win me some ball games. I don't care how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I look at it and say the first thing that I heard there in those clips was, well, we're not really doing much different than we had the last couple of years. So I don't know how much we should expect it to be different. Like we sit there and look and go, oh, they're going to go 4 and 5 wide. No, they're not. They're not going to. And quite honestly, I don't know if they need to. I mean, I'm
glad you said that.
They had a top 5 offense with DJ Lagway at quarterback. When you look, so Nick Knudsen for our magazine went and charted every single play that every quarterback took. Actually, he did both offense and defense, but we were able to sort it based on the quarterback who was there in the game. And when Lagway was in the game, they averaged something like 6.7 yards per play, which would have been like 5th in the country. Would have been up and down the field, just like Oregon, just like Ohio State. And that's what they had. So like the play calling part becomes critical when you don't have the horses to make the big plays constantly. Now, does that mean the Lagway doesn't have areas to improve? Does that mean they can't get better at certain circumstances,
right,
certain play calls in certain circumstances? I mean, certainly I think they'll have different go-to plays than they did in the first half against Tennessee last year when it just seemed like sort of a hodgepodge of different things that they were trying to do there. But I'm not expecting anything all that different. Whether Callaway's calling the plays or Napier's calling the plays, it's not really going to be that big of a difference. I think The reality is that they're either going to have a top 5 offense because Lagway is awesome, or they're going to have a top 30 offense because he's not. And, it comes down to him.
Yeah. And my thing too, okay, don't get me wrong. And I've said it before. I've said it when we have been here together. Yeah, I'd love 4 wide because I like what Florida has at receiver. So, yeah, and I think they probably will open it up some. This is not going to be for 4 wide, 5 wide, play in, play out. But would you even want it to be? I mean, we like what this offensive line returns. We love our running back room. You want those guys to still get the ball. And look, 12 personnel is, helps in that run game. So they're going to stick to that a good bit in that run game. But yeah, I would not mind seeing it opened up a bit more because I do like your weapons at receiver. I do think a lot of your bigger plays can happen in that regard. But at the same time, I want to feed Ball. I want to feed Jackson. I want to feed Webb and let that offensive line get in the groove as well.
Well, I mean, so it comes back to, and we've said this a few times, I think this is kind of what you were saying earlier, is you want the Florida offense to dictate to the defense.
Absolutely.
Rather than the defense dictating the Florida offense. So if the defense brings a bunch of guys up to the line of scrimmage, okay, well, now we're not going to run the ball.
Yeah.
Or maybe we even have the ability to run the ball even if you bring those guys in the box because we've got 9 guys returning on the offensive line who should be able to maul the opposition, right?
And in that position, saw the game away. Okay, they're going to load the box, but you got to be able to run the ball anyway.
Well, and again, if you score 30 points that way, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because the other team, like if you look at that LSU game last year, the only reason that game was even remotely close is LSU ran 92 plays to Florida's like 44. Like that's why that game was close. Now, I mean, I would say that's an inefficient way to win a ball game, but and they didn't win that game because they couldn't put the ball in the end zone. But I mean, I don't think that's ideal, but I think the premise is the same, right? That you want to be able to win a game where you have to run 92 plays. You want to be able to win a game where you run 41 plays, and to be able to take advantage of those sorts of things. But I think, again, it sort of comes back to if the defense is getting into drop 8, one of the things that you can do is you can essentially air raid them. You send 5 guys deep, and there's only 4 guys to cover them, and it's a pretty easy read for the quarterback, and there's some sort of open space out there somewhere. And so, yes, there are adjustments that they can make where in the places where Lagway struggled, you can give them some opportunities. Now, there is a catch-22 to going 4 wide or 5 wide, which is that now you actually have to protect, or you have to have site adjustments off of the defensive alignment, right? So if the defense comes on a blitz and you've got 5 wide, you got to have something off of that. That's where the reps, all the stuff we're talking about, Lagway being able to make either pre-snap adjustments or being able to make site adjustments after he identifies the blitz post-snap. Like, those are things where that's the ball that gets taken the other way, right?
Yeah,
where the quarterback sees a site adjustment and throws the ball, and the wide receiver just runs straight, and all of a sudden you got a ball coming the other direction.
There you go. Your connection on hot routes, as you're saying, with blitz and the wide receiver and the quarterback got to be on the same page for those type of plays.
Man, go watch Anthony Richardson against Kentucky if you want to see a wide receiver and a quarterback not on the same page when they're trying to make a side adjustment on a blitz.